Today I thought I'd share how I store salt. But first, I'm going to give you a little background on salt. Salt is one of the only 4 basic tastes our tongues can recognize. It has a rich history, wars have been fought over it, it has been used as currency, and it's been smuggled in and out of countries, and of course taxed. Salt also occurs in everyday expressions. We've all heard the expression, not worth his salt. This expression derives from the exchange of salt for slaves in ancient Greece. The word salary is derived from the Latin phrase salarium argentum, which translates as salt money, and referred to the part of the payment made to every Roman soldier in salt. Salt has long held an important place in religion, in purification rituals, and symbolism. My dad always threw some salt over his shoulder if he spilled salt to keep the devil away, and of course, anyone watching Supernatural knows that an unbroken circle of salt can keep the evil spirits at bay. Salt is used universally for seasoning. Most of us get more than we need for our daily salt consumption. In America, however, only 25% of our salt consumption comes from the salt shakers, that is, the salt we shake in our food. The remaining 75% comes from processed foods. We do need salt to survive, however. Salt helps our bodies retain water, is vital to the digestion of food and destruction of foodborne pathogens in our stomach, and both stimulates muscle contraction and stimulates the adrenal gland. Hyponatremia, and I'm probably not pronouncing that right, is the clinical term for a life-threatening sodium deficiency, and it can cause brain swelling, coma, and congestive heart failure. Of course, too much of a good thing, i.e. salt, can lead to high water retention and hypertension. Okay, now we know some fun facts regarding salt and some of the reasons our body needs salt. So let's talk about salt storage. How much should we store, and what is the best way to store it? The amount. Figure storing 5 pounds per person per year. More if you plan on using it as a way to preserve food. Type of salt. Well, do you want to store plain table salt, iodized table salt, sea salt, kosher salt, Celtic salt, Himalayan salt, and the list goes on? That is entirely up to you. Since I live in the north, I store iodized salt. It is inexpensive, and the addition of iodine helps prevent developing a goiter. Iodized salt can yellow over time, but it's still entirely fine to use. How do you store it? Should you repackage the salt in a bucket, Mylar bags? Should you vacuum pack it and add oxygen absorbers? Or should you add a desiccant? There's a lot of different advice on this subject, and believe me, I am not an expert. This is merely what I do. As always, do your own research to figure out the best way for your situation. I store salt in its original package in a plastic food-grade bucket with a little added rice to act as a desiccant if needed. Here's how I do it. First, start with a nice clean bucket. This is a 6-pound bucket. I paid $1.50 for a bucket plus a lid. Get it on Craigslist. And it used to store, I think it was like a lemonade powder, so it actually smells pretty good even after you clean it. And next, you want to add your salt. I purchased 4-pound Morton iodized salt packages from Sam's Club. And you want to make sure to always put the date you purchased it on each package. That way you know. The reason why I use packages instead of just loosely packing the salt in the bucket is that this way I can rotate my storage. I can easily take out a package. Okay, so see if I can tip this. Ended up with 7 4-pound packages in the 6-pound bucket, and so we have 28 pounds of salt. So that's enough for one person for over 5 years. Now the other thing I do is add some rice just in case there gets moisture, and this will absorb it. And I take a package of rice and I poke holes in it, and that way most of the rice stays in the package but will still absorb any moisture, and when I want to take out a package of salt I can do it without having to dig through all the rice. You want to put your cover on, and then you want to make sure that you have it properly labeled so anybody in the family can find it. In this case, it says salt, iodized salt, in original boxes, date packed, 9/14. If moisture gets at your salt and cakes it up, you can always dry it out in the oven or your solar oven, and it will be just fine to use. So be sure to put this in a cool, dry space, and that's all there is to it. So let me know, how do you store salt? This is Prepper Potpourri. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe and share the knowledge.